Hello everyone, the topic that I chose is the signaling or the cueing principle in multimedia learning. The reason I chose this topic is because personally I find it very helpful because the cues make it easier for me to recognize and understand the content and also help me to process the information faster. Another reason is because the visually salient features can draw and guide learners' attention to the most important information. This is especially helpful for the novice learners because they normally don't have much background knowledge in the target field, and they are more likely to rely on the characteristics of the stimulus materials so that when the signaling information are being used, they make it easier for the novice learners to follow along, organize the information, and remember what is being taught. So what is the signaling principle? The signaling principle, also known as the cueing principle, refers to the finding that the people learn more deeply from a multimedia message when cues are added that guide attention to the relevant elements of the material or highlight the organization of the essential material. It is also crucial for the first step in multimedia learning, which is selection of information, according to the cognitive theory of multimedia learning. There are three types of cues that are introduced in our textbook. The first type is the text-based cues. These can be seen by the use of sentences that precede the learning materials with highlights, or sentences in the text to guide attention to the picture, or sentences or phrases that are in a different color, such as the image that is shown on the right here. The key terms, the visual features, the visual cues are in the right color in comparison with the rest of the content, which is in the bluish color. So these two key terms are made more salient by the use of a different color in order to draw learners' attention. Here's a study example from our textbook. In 2010, Moreno and Abercrombie used a red font to signal the key terms in worked-out solutions that followed teaching situation cases consisting of either written text or animations. They found a significant positive main effect of signaling on transfer performance for the text and the animation conditions. They also found that the signal group's perceived cognitive load was also significantly lowered. The second type is the picture-based cues. These can be seen by the use of arrows, flashing elements, or shading, such as the study that was conducted by DeConning et al. In 2010. I also attached the picture from our textbook here on the right. As you can see, all elements except for the cued subsystem are shaded and therefore less salient, so that learners' attention can be guided to the target elements. Zooming sometimes is also very helpful. By zooming in at the most relevant elements, the less important information can be made invisible so that the learners can avoid being distracted and only focus on the most important information. The third type, or the last type, is the cueing corresponding elements in written text and pictures. Color coding can be used to highlight the correspondence between elements of text and a picture by giving them the same color. In a 1999 study by Corella et al., they used the color coding in a diagram of an electric circuit. So when learners click on a step in the text, the mentioned elements would change into the same color in both text and the diagram. I couldn't find the exact diagram that they used in their original study, but I somehow found a similar image online, as shown in the at the left here. As you can see, the elements in the diagram and their corresponding texts are marked by the same color. Back to the study, they find that the color coding group performed significantly better on multiple choice text, and they also reported a lower effort investment during learning. So we have covered the three types of the cueing principle so far. What do you think? Do you also think that people could learn better and process information faster when cues are used to highlight the most essential element? Let's now give it a test. So there are two tests here. They basically say the same thing, but which one of these would you rather read? The one on the left or the one on the right? I think most of us would naturally choose the one on the right here, right? Because the one on the left, it just looks intimidating to look at because it's a huge chunk of tests. There's no pauses in between, and one has to spend a significant amount of time to read through the whole test in order to get the main idea. However, for the one on the right here, it is more pleasing to look at the first sight because it has the headings, it has highlights, and also a corresponding image. So by just looking or reading at the heading, highlights, and corresponding image, one can get a basic idea about what this text is all about, and one can also have choices to read the supplemental materials at will. So this is how we can take advantage of the signaling principle in order to help us process the new information faster and help us make our learning more efficient. The cueing principle is actually being used almost everywhere. For instance, when you go to a movie, when you go to see a movie with good cinematography, or when you are browsing online at a well-designed website, you will notice that your eyes are instantly drawn to the certain areas and follow a natural path that smoothly guides your experience. So this is how the signaling principle is being used in daily lives. The signaling principle also has implications for both cognitive theory and instructional design. For cognitive theory, it fosters learning by helping learners to select, organize, and integrate the information presented in the text and the pictures. For instructional design, it helps learners use their limited working memory capacity in an optimal manner, and it also helps learners to develop better long-term knowledge retention. Okay, that's all for this chapter, and thank you for listening.